right, welcome back. In this session, we're going to be talking about tag values and the notes for those tag values. So during this series, we've brought in architecture building blocks, ABBs, from our repository to reuse in the project. These building blocks carry a great deal of metadata, data about data. And in there are tag values. So we started out with these tag values, but I found that there wasn't a lot of definition to them. As we built out the tag values or looked at the tag values in the architecture building blocks that were given to us out of the configuration management database, the asset repository for this fictitious company, we built out our own building block model. And since then, we have added a great deal of tag values to these. So we'll zoom in, look at any particular one, we've added tag values. And I'm going to show you the difference between these tag values as they stand and fully defined tag values that we can use in our architectural artifacts and design. So let's get started. All right, so these are the architecture building blocks that were brought in. Let's run a report here. We're going to hit function key 8. And we're on the e-commerce package. You can always double check, go back to our browser folder. We're on the e-commerce package, hit function key 8 to bring up the documentation generation dialog. We're going to use the solution approach template, which is a custom template we created that exposes tag values. I've talked about this in the reporting videos that are in this channel. And we're going to put them into the architecture asset repository for the project. It's just simply called reports. And we're going to just refer to this as the package name, e-commerce. Yes, it exists. Let's step on it and let's go ahead and generate. So it's generating this report only for this document that you see here. All right, it is done. Let's go ahead and hit view. So you only see the architecture building blocks that were brought in. This section here is tag values in the report. It's pretty light. There's no notes. There's just a tag value called impact, but no value and no notes. So it's not as meaningful. You're looking at asset ID. This has an ID within the configuration management database, the access management table of 3. So that's the ID is the 3. But there's no notes, and it's really not clear. There's some clarity in the associations, for example, here from load balancer to the service exchange platform, what's going on. We include tag values, but there are no values. It's just E for effort, test support for impact, and then scale factor, we'll talk about in a later video, has a rating of 6. Right? So, and if I go down through, it's the same thing. It's missing a lot of information. When we're looking at this particular package we're reporting on, we're only including in this report just this diagram, the blocks only diagram. We are not including all the other diagrams that are in here. And you've learned that in reporting, that if you go to diagrams, you can exclude image from documentation. All right. So this one I'm not including in reports that I run. However, I use these models quite a bit during collaboration sessions. And I'm going to do a video on reusing diagrams for reporting presentations versus just straight up discussion and collaboration. That'll be a later video. Let's go ahead and close this report. And then these e-commerce diagrams, I'm going to close them. I don't need those for the rest of this discussion. You learned in this channel how we copied that model, pasted as new, so that we could strip the global unique IDs and then use these as standalone elements. And when we did that, we were able to create a great deal of data, especially for this project, but even to be checked back in or reused as future building blocks within the architecture building block, or the our co's, our fictitious company enterprise continuum. But we'll talk about that later more I've already talked about TOGAF and the enterprise continuum. So now we have this model here, and let's just go into this first one right here. And well, let's go to tag values over here in the dialog box. You can see that we've added a bunch of tag values. We have put, this is the property, the left side. The right side are the values. So we've populated the properties with values. They're certainly adjustable as you're going through collaboration with the team and through the delivery life cycle. I want to say development life cycle, but it's really delivery life cycle that's in here. But the other thing that we did was we added some notes explaining why we believe this value is set to what it is. And so you can have continued communication, I want to say conversations, both mean the same thing, as you're going through your architectural solution design, your detail design, and your deployment. So let's look at this report now for this model. And this model, if I go to diagrams and the properties, exclude image from documentation. I'm not going to show this in the documentation. I'm only going to show this model here. It's not checked. Exclude image is not checked within the report. All right. So let's report on this now. We're still on the e-commerce folder. We don't want to be here. This is the diagram out of our building blocks up here in the tab that we want to get to. We can right click in here, find in browser, and we go right to it. So we're going to report on this namespace. We're going to hit function key 8. You all know you can go to publish and bring up the same dialog box. We're going to use a solution approach custom template, and we're going to browse and call this, instead of the package name, solution approach. And then your naming convention can give it a version number like solution approach version 01 or whatever versioning scheme you're using. I usually will go solution approach, and then if I'm going to include within the file name version number, I just put the date, whatever the date is. So we're going to step on the solution, leave it as it is, and hit save, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to generate. So it's going through, as you've seen in other reporting, in progress, and it's generating this report. It's created. Let's go ahead and hit view. All right, so this is the only diagram we're including. There's no other diagram. There's a lot more information is here. And when we go into tag values, we not only have the property, which is in the name column of this table, custom table fragment. You all learned fragments in another video. Again, I'll try to use all of these links, trying to make this as short as possible. We have the values, and then in notes, we added notes for each one of these, explaining what the value is or why it is set to what it is. So how do we do that? Let's talk about that next. All right, let's go ahead and close this report back to this model here. I actually want to be on this model right here. It doesn't matter which one because I'm really not focused on the diagram as much as I am the elements that are over in browser. So you can see over here, we've got properties, and then in properties, you have element tab and you have tag values. So here's our tag values, and we call this tag value analysis. And we're going to bring up a workspace that's most productive for us to do tag value analysis. Now I'm going to bring up my custom workspace layout for that. You know, there's a couple of ways to do that. You can go to workspace and you can go to my workspaces, or you can come up here and select it up here to get to your workspaces. But I have a lot of custom workspaces, so it's much easier for me to do this. Down at the bottom here, I have a custom workspace called Tag Value Analysis. Let's hit apply, and it brings it up, right? So it brings up the find in project, the search engine, if you will, for Sparks, and it puts property as a floating window right here. What I'm going to do within the find in project, the search engine, is I'm going to go to my searches, showing you all how to do this. And I created something called building block tag value by application, my own custom search. Let's look at the SQL for this. All right. So if I go over to look at the SQL, let's move properties out of the way for a moment. And this is the custom SQL that I use to do this analysis. And you can pause right here if you want. and write this down and create your own custom search. Let's go ahead and run it with no search term. All right, so what it's doing is it's looking in the TObject table, and it's looking in the TObject property table, and these are the values that I'm bringing back, the columns that I'm bringing back down below. Let's go ahead and just run this with no search term. So you see here we've got the application name, we have the property, the tag value property, and we have the value. So we have the name, the property, and the value, as well as the notes right here, the notes. All right, this. So in the search, I can go, well, I want to see what the tag values are for the chat application. So because it's in the wildcards here in front of and behind the search terms up here, I'm able to search whatever application that I'm looking at. All right. So let's set this up. I'm going to go ahead and leave the SQL up so you can see it. Normally I just close that, cut the SQL editor, I just close it. And then I'm going to take the find in browser, I'm going to drag and drop it, and I'm just going to put it right here, all right, for now. Right, so as I'm selecting applications, let's say I'm down here and I want to look at data supply, right? So here's the properties, the tag values for data supply. You can see it gives you the name up here at the top. And when I want to come over here in my search box, and I want to, because I can't see notes when I'm in properties, but if I'm searching and I just start typing in data, and I even just S, it finds everything with data and an S in it, which is only data supply, right? So what I'm going to do is make this a little larger since I'm leaving the SQL up here, so I can see what has notes and what doesn't have notes, right? So wherever it doesn't have notes, or if I want to edit notes, I can come over to the item that I want. Here's AID, and up here, I can select Edit Tag Value Notes. And it brings up this dialog box, which are the notes that I can type for each one of the tag values. And it's just rinse and repeat. I go through the applications. Let me cancel this one. I go through the applications, CRM, rinse and repeat, CR, let's see what comes up, only CRM. And I can see I've got all my notes in here. But as we're going through the delivery exercise, like for instance, stage, you know, right now, stage, it's in solution. But as I'm going through and I'm changing what the tag value is doing, I'm able to go, well, this one's moving to design. This one's in solution, all right? So it's just rinse and repeat and going through just like that. Let's open this. We're going to make this large again here. And I'm going to go to my custom searches. And I think I was doing some testing here. Here, I'm only looking in the e-commerce package, right? So let me run this one. For CRM, look at all these blank, there's no notes. If I take out the search term and search the entire package that we started with, there's hardly any notes. Matter of fact, there's just one with notes in it. They didn't complete it. And there are no values. Now, there are no values when you have a reusable. You leave them blank because you're waiting for the architect that's reusing the building blocks like we did to actually populate. Well, what's the effort? What's the impact? What's the level of effort? So they left these blank for a reason, but there's no reason to leave note blank. So you might even put within your reusable assets directions on what to do for choosing a value here. It's up to you. We'll talk about that in a later session. So you can see what we started with versus what we're working with today. Scroll back up. I'm going to run this again. What we've done. So we've gone a great deal so far in this project in defining the tag values. We all understand what a tag value is. Basically, you understand what a stereotype is. It is a mechanism for extending the standard UML vocabulary, and it provides a way to tailor your UML specific domains, platforms, elements, expressions of the UML model that you're working on. While a tag value is a mechanism that allows for the extension of UML models, but with additional information is what I really want to say. But they're a type of UML stereotype, is what OMG says, is responsible for UML. And tag values provide a way to attach supplementary information, as we've done here, meaning and definition to your models. And you can see how powerful it is. All right. So that's how you add notes to tag values. You can see up here, make a selection, come in here, choose a selection. And even the business requirements will have tag values that are realizing the applications. So there's a plethora of intelligence here that can be mined for reports, can be mined for dashboards and charts. And as we get this data out into other data repositories and using tools like Tableau or Power BI or whatever BI tool that you're using, you can mine the data of one or many projects that are going on within your company. And it's endless. And we hope to cover some of that, if not all of that, in this channel in the future. All right, that concludes this session. How are you using tag values? Did you even know they existed? They're extremely powerful within your documentation and driving your delivery. And I think Spark's Enterprise Architect does the best job. I use other tools. We will demo those tools in this channel, but right now I'm focused on this series and delivering architecture using Sparks, right? So in this particular solution approach, I want to say document, solution approach that we did, you can see for this application chat, which we're focused on here in our search engine. And we have selected from a properties perspective, how we're using tag values, how we've explained to our readers what our tag values mean. We can manage these tag values in real time through collaboration with other stakeholders and throughout the delivery lifecycle. We can even use tag values in connectors, not just elements, but also your associations and your connectors. In this example, we have chat realizing this requirement, and we have two tag values, one for effort and one for impact. And we're saying that the effort is difficult. We have a D in there for difficult, and we have impact is development. And we explain why we believe this is a difficult development impact. And we can do that through all of our connectors and associations as we're moving through our delivery. So again, I appreciate your support. Really love it. It has just been great. And I look forward to more. And until that next episode, happy modeling.